Quick video is going to show you guys how to go from the research organizer to getting your background source, which you've already found in your interest statement, recorded. And this will be the beginnings of research, which is really important to establish a foundation in understanding your topic. So when you get to this page, which will be linked from the Google Classroom, you're going to make a copy of it, and I've given you this naming convention where you just replace name with your last name and your topic. So if you remember from my example, I'm going to be focusing on podcasting. So mine will look just like this. And what I've done is I've already started a document right here, and I've added in an essential question. So I've taken my topic, which was about podcasting, and when I was talking about it, this is something new that I've discovered because I've found myself with a little bit more time in the afternoons, and it's something that I wanted to start with the Library Advisory Committee. So my essential question is dictated by my own interests and what I have going on. So coming up with an essential question can be difficult, but just give it a shot for now. And maybe that will change after you read your background source or whatever that is. So again, my essential question is shorter than the interest statement that I had on the Google Slides. So you're going to transfer that over, and then you're going to open up your background source, which I have open right here. So we've talked a lot about the different benefits of the database, and I want to show you a few of them on this video right now. Again, this is a source that's been vetted by the database company. We have access to it for free through the library. We've got a lot of information up at the top that I can already start to kind of judge the source by. So I know that this is 3 years old, and I know that podcasting is a relatively new medium. So when I go through and I'm finding more information on the for my findings, I'm definitely going to want to keep in mind that 2017 was my background source. So anything that I can add to background that's more recent will be important. But for the purposes of this first foundational kind of lay of the land for my topic, this is a perfectly fine source for what I'm looking for. So this is a reference source that I found on the database, and it's got some just some background on, like, it's talking about this as an event, right? Podcasts become mainstream sources of information. So this is like a historical event according to this database, and it just talks to us a little bit about some things that that sort of led to the rise of this media. And what I've done is I've already read through this, and the reading aspect, I'm not going to demonstrate that on the video, but that's something that you guys are going to want to go through and make sure that you understand what's happening in the article. And if there are questions that you have, this is where you come in and you ask Mr. Steer or Mrs. Reed, or going forward at any research you do, you ask the librarian to kind of help you to understand what it is the source is saying. And the other thing that I'd like you to practice with the databases is this highlighting. And the highlighting is nice because what you can do is you can click and drag on any element of this, the article. And when you click highlight, you can choose any color of highlight, and you can add notes to it. So I've highlighted here, a podcast is a kind of digital program that is downloaded to the internet and listened to and or viewed on a computer or mobile device. So this is just, talking about access, right? So this note that I've added is just giving me a reminder of what this paragraph was doing in here. I can also use notes to summarize what it is that the article's saying and put it in my own words. So I like the paraphrasing aspect of it because you're going to want to do some paraphrasing on your research organizer. So when I read this first paragraph, it said, Apple's iPod in many pockets, audio production software, cheap or free, and web logging, an established part of the internet. All the ingredients are there for a boom in amateur radio. And this element of podcasting is really interesting. Podcasting wasn't invented by a company. It sort of came together out of a bunch of amateurs who said, we have these tools and how can we use them? So I think that's an interesting aspect of how things are designed and how things come about. So, so podcasting has an amateur creation feel to it. The technology was used for what the creators felt like. So, you know, Apple invented the iPod and these audio production software, you know, people had been recording music and recording speeches and stuff like that for years. As it became cheaper, you know, people started using it and they said, well, why don't I make a radio program? I like listening to the radio in my car or whatever it is. So going through and thinking about those most interesting parts of the article for you. And as you can see, I've gathered a couple other kind of things that I wanted to pull out to highlight, is important. So what you can do next is you can click Send To up here, or you can click on this Google Drive logo. And you probably know what this is going to be doing. It's going to send the article over to your Google Drive, and it does some pretty interesting things that you can't do on a website. So I'm going to click on my natickps.org account, and you get this informational dialog box that says that it's appeared. And you can click OK, and you can go over to your drive. And when you go to your drive, you'll see that you have an orange folder. And I like that it kind of allows these to jump out at you. And the orange folder will be titled after the database that you've used. So I've also used the high school database before, and I've used Kid Infobits for this project. But this article was in Middle School in Context. So when I open up Middle School in Context, I see that I have all the sources that I've saved. As you can see, I've saved a few since school has begun. But this one from just now has podcasts become mainstream sources of entertainment. So now I'm looking at the article and I can open it in Google Docs to edit it. But you'll notice that it has everything that I've already read and highlighted and added notes to right here. So I can take this and do a copy paste right onto my background document. So now I have everything that I just read kind of boiled down into what I was thinking, what I was doing during that active reading. And I've already got it paraphrased, and if there's anything that I want to quote, I can quote it directly. But the other important thing is I want to show my reader or the person who is looking at this information where it came from. And when you transfer over the source, when you transfer over the article, it also saves the source citation as well. So I'm going to highlight that. And I can paste that in there as well. So sometimes you get some strange things like the quotations, that don't copy over exactly right or something like that. If that happens, it's not the end of the world. I just want you to practice that, saving of the source citation. And this also gives me that permalink to be able to get back to the article if I need to. And the article is also in my Google Drive as well. So what I'd like you to do is to look at one of those articles and see that you can, pull out the text and you can have your notes here that are your own words. So your first thing is going to be just getting background on what your topic is. So this background may have some ideas for what the best practices for a student podcast are, but in this first box, I'm just focusing on background to get a feel for what it is podcasting is all about and the sort of history of it as best I can. And you can clean this up a little bit to make it more legible. So I've got each of my highlights. It starts off with the text and it starts off with notes that I wrote. And I can just go through and look at a few things. And I'm going to paraphrase this further into just think of it like a paragraph on the background of your topic. And then the next step will be to find other will be to find two more sources that kind of explain or give you more answers to your essential question. And we'll talk about how to do that a little bit later, but you'll use the same process that we just used to look at that one article on the database.